Tonight, on an interview with an interesting person, Omar Karim, and your host, Kevin Schoen.
Hi, I'm Kevin Schoen. I'm with Omar Karim today on this evening's, afternoon's, mornings, or whenever you're watching it, presentation of interesting people. Omar, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good to meet you.
So I hear you're interesting. I don't know.
I've been told.
Oh, so I've been told. Yes.
I gotta
we'll
keep that ego in check.
We'll try to put the most amazing light on you if we can.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sometimes it's, usually people are like, that Kevin guy, he's pretty boring. So I hear you're into politics, and you might be looking for going into politics as a political office or something.
Yeah. So I've always been really passionate about politics ever since I was a small child. My father's a business professor, so when I growing up, he had the whole 9 to 5 right at the university, at the campus, and I'd only ever see him at night when he got home. Mm-hmm. And he would come home right at 6 p.m. sharp for dinner. Yep. And something we did as a family is we'd watch NPR together late at night. And so that was like the only time I got with my dad. And so the exposure to all the global geopolitical politics, like in that formative years, probably like dug its way into my brain like an earwig.
What were those formative years? Was that like Reagan or Clinton?
Clinton.
Okay.
Early Clinton. So I was born in 1992. I might even jump back a little further.
Oh, okay, yeah.
My parents emigrated from Bangladesh. To actually specifically East Lansing, Michigan.
Okay.
So my father could attend MSU.
Okay. So Bangladesh is east of Africa. It used to be called East Pakistan,
yes,
right?
Very, very good. Yes,
Okay.
it used to be a part of Pakistan, formerly a larger country known as India prior to the colonization of the British. But yeah, East Pakistan, and then they had a civil war around the 1970s.
In the 70s,
My parents left Bangladesh because there was a program for former colonies to be able to go to again, former colonies of Great Britain to seek higher education.
Okay, so is Bangladesh part of the British Commonwealth then as well?
I don't know if it still is. It certainly was at one point in time.
Yep.
But so my father took advantage of the program, and of the thousands of schools across the planet, he picked Michigan State University.
Woohoo!
Yeah. And so they came here in the late 70s, early 80s. And, I actually wasn't born until some few years later in Albany, New York.
Albany, New York.
Of all places.
Huh.
And then from 0 to 9, I was in Albany, and we moved to Southern California.
Oh,
so that was a huge switch, yeah.
So you came to East Lansing.
East Lansing.
Then you went to Albany, or you were born in Albany,
yes.
stayed there till you're 9, and then off to Southern Cal.
Southern California, and that's where kind of I grew up. Mm-hmm. You know, I went from elementary all the way through my first years of college.
Oh, really?
In Fullerton, California, yeah.
Fullerton, California.
And funnily enough, eventually I didn't know what to do with myself in Fullerton. I was going to school for business.
Yep.
I hated it. I was smoking entirely too much marijuana.
Yes.
And I was kind of wasting my time, wasting my life. How old was I? I must have been 19, 20 years old. And my sister at the time was a PhD student at State studying medical anthropology.
Okay.
And she says, Omar, why don't you come to Lansing, go to MSU, where our dad went, where I'm currently going, and become a student there. Mm-hmm. So I said, why not? It was always a dream of mine to, go to the school that brought my parents literally to this country.
Yep.
So I came to Lansing. Can I curse on this?
Oh, sure.
I fucked around for a little while.
There's no FCC here. Don't worry about
sure,
that.
Sure.
Go
so
right.
I fucked around for a little
rip.
while. I didn't go to school directly off the bat. I actually started working in the service industry. Mm-hmm. I was a door guy and a bouncer at a local establishment that's since been closed, Rum Runners.
Oh, yes.
And from Rum Runners, I jumped around to other bars as a bouncer, as a bar back, as a bartender.
Yep.
And I eventually found my way to the U.S. National Guard.
Oh, really? No doubt.
Yeah, and I spent a little while there. Ended up getting an honorable medical discharge.
Okay. Did you get injured, or if I may ask?
It was a prior injury.
Oh, okay.
It was a prior injury prior to service.
Yep.
I do plan on re-enlisting. So that's
okay.
a thing. Mm-hmm. But after that, I started focusing solely on cooking, just not as a career, but as a profession, as a way of making money. That eventually led me to become a French chef.
French chef.
Yeah, there's a French restaurant downtown Lansing called Envie.
Yes,
and that's where I used to work.
Oh, okay.
But jumping back to the politics, though, I've always been engaged somewhat into the activism side of politics, here in Lansing specifically. Our prior guest that we had was talking about Richard Spencer on the March 5th rally we had.
That was the Nazi rally.
Yes.
That was on campus, and Richard Spencer was one of the main speaker at the event.
Yeah.
He was the suit Nazi.
The suit Nazi, as they're called, the Dapper Dans.
The Dapper Nazis.
The ones, the David Dukes of the alt-right. They make them look good.
They are just edging into civilianish type of Nazism rather than always wearing.
I don't know
uniform.
if you've seen the haircuts they have. They're like these really faded with the long hair on top, combed over. Some people like to call them the young Republican haircut.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, the young Republican. So I was actually at that rally myself.
Okay.
There's some footage. There's some
Oh,
footage.
you were as well. Okay.
there's a fair amount of footage floating around the internet of me screaming and yelling at Nazis.
Yep.
So that's fun. That's nice. I actually got approached by the Washington Post at the rally and got quoted as a member of Antifa, which I would say I'm loosely associated with.
Loosely associated.
Yeah.
Were you dressed up like a ninja? Like some of the people that were there?
I was certainly dressed up as an. I don't know. Well, I'll give you guys some pictures and maybe even some news video clips that caught me. But I was wearing an all leather black jacket, leather pants. I wore my black gloves, my black riding gloves.
Yep.
And a pair of sunglasses.
Bam.
So I was very American badass.
American badass. Soon to be ninja, yeah.
Soon to be, yeah. So that was a great rally, actually, because the interesting thing about that is we had gotten a lot of pushback from the local community. We had heard from, but liberals and progressives alike were like, well, don't give them that platform, you know? Because it's a double-edged sword. Like, you don't go, and then Richard Spencer and his Nazi cohort just have an open platform, they can spout their hate speech. You do go, you show opposition, however you bring more media attention, you bring more cops, you bring more reporters, and then it becomes a bigger deal. Something that I think Mr. Spencer probably really enjoys. I am, of course, of the latter. I believe that we should be, as a community, Lansing, East Lansing, Ames County, Michiganders as a whole need to fight back against this. And one thing is the great majority of the Nazis that showed up were from out of state.
Oh, okay.
They were not Michiganders. They were not East Lansing. They were not Lansing. They were not state students.
Yep.
They came to our backyard and to our community. So it was very important for us to show of force against them. I'm not saying violent, but obviously opposition. And it turned out that actually was Richard Spencer's most abysmal rally he had ever thrown up. Less than a dozen people had shown up into an auditorium that was made for 300 plus.
Okay.
He had reported after the fact they actually ended their college tour series that they started with state. They're going to go to U of M. They're going to go to Western. They're going to jump to a bunch of other college campuses. But because there was such a poor showing, they were essentially defeated.
Yep.
And Richard Spencer, he had said something along the lines after the anti-rally he had said the fun was out of it.
Oh,
it was no longer fun. hating people and wanting ethnic cleansing was no longer fun for him, apparently.
Gosh darn, it's just rough being a Nazi these days.
Yeah.
You just don't get to have any fun anymore. Hating people, interesting.
Truly.
Yeah.
But it's cool, though, being in Lansing, so we're talking about politics a little bit, right? Being in Lansing and Michigan, in general, we're a buzz of activity, you know. We have the economic downturn Michigan's experienced since the closure of so many of our auto plants, and then we had white flight out of many of our major metropolitan areas in Michigan, most importantly Detroit, Flint, Pontiac, Cadillac, all these places that formerly were just massive urban hubs. We've since had the Flint water crisis.
Right.
It's been more than a couple of years now, and Flint still does not have clean water. If I'm sure most of our viewers can recall, Dr. Larry Nassar was charged with multiple counts of sexual assault of American heroes, I might add, gymnasts who performed for the...
So he was a medical doctor at Michigan State.
He was a sports medicine doctor, yes, and he focused, his main focus, I think, was on women's athletics, specifically gymnastics.
Yes, and he had been convicted, or at least had a plea bargain associated with sexually assaulting the women, many young gymnasts.
Yeah, so we have Flint, we have Nassar, we have our current economic status as a state. So Michigan is a hub of activity right now, and most people kind of write us off as far as the national stage goes. Like, well, Michigan, who wants to live in Michigan? Who wants to be where Detroit is? You know,
right? I mean, we've got the second largest coastline in the country.
Exactly, we have 22% of the world's fresh water in or surrounding our great state.
I bet those people in Arizona would love our
and
fresh water.
Northern and Southern California as well. Yeah. So this is ground zero in my mind as far as political work's concerned.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I moved from doing kind of fringe political activism, such as going to the Richard Spencer rally, to more of a mainstream. I spoke for a Senator Bernie Sanders in the February of this year.
Yep.
He held a rally at the Lansing Center called Rally to Repeal the Trump Tax Plan.
Mm-hmm.
I was recruited to open that rally and give a speech, and then Senator Sanders finished that out.
Okay.
So that was a big kind of my intro into local politics.
I see.
Since leaving the kitchen, the French kitchen, I am now a field organizer with a super PAC known as Next Generation America.
Next Generation America. Now,
Yes.
what is their principal focus?
Next Generation, or Next Gen for short, was started by a West Coast billionaire named Tom Steyer. He's essentially the left's response to Koch brothers. I'm sure we're familiar with the Koch brothers, right?
Sure.
And how they like to funnel money into the right-hand side of the aisle.
Sure.
So we're essentially fighting fire with fire. Next Generation's mission statement is to interact with, register to vote, and motivate as many millennials as possible. Mm-hmm. So currently the largest voting bloc is the non-voters.
Right.
Which a large portion of is the millennial generation, our generation, approximately 18 to 35. There's some contention about that, but let's just say 18 to 35.
Yeah.
Now, if they were all registered, they would be the most powerful voting bloc.
Yep.
So for Next Gen, the idea is let us engage with these individuals, let's register them to vote,
Yep.
let's motivate them to vote, and let's get them out to the polls. Because it's nice if you're registered, but if you're not actually going out the day of the election, because most people don't go out to the polls unless it's presidential, gubernatorial, just major things. They don't vote on general elections, they don't vote for ballot initiatives, they don't go out for primaries. We have one coming up August 9th.
Yep.
Actually, the last day to register to vote is the 9th of July. So you have to be registered 30 days prior to that election or the voting cycle. So keep that in mind, folks.
Yep.
So yes, through Next Gen, I'm a field organizer. I have some fellows that work under me, and then we have some volunteers that work under them. And we interact with the general society, go to events, start our own events, table at events. We just had a huge success at Pride. We had our citywide Pride event in Lansing about a week ago. Mm-hmm. They do Pride on different days all over the country.
Like Gay Pride.
Yeah, Gay Pride.
Right.
Yes, Gay Pride.
They had a parade and all that kind of stuff.
Which we were part of. It was very nice. So yeah, Next Generation's given me a great opportunity to interact more with my city. Now, Next Generation is a national organization. However, they do specify in specific states, and we're known as a purple state, right? We voted Obama in twice, and we elected a Republican governor twice.
Right.
Right? So
and a Republican president, too.
Currently, yes. So Michigan will be up for grabs for Democrats, Republicans for a long time. It could swing really easily either way.
Yep.
Next Gen's actually pretty lucky to have me because my basis for my political career is going to be serving my city, specifically Lansing, and then the underrepresented parts of Lansing, such as South or West Side.
Okay, so you live in the South or West Side of Lansing then?
No, currently I live on the East Side.
Oh, East Side,
East Side, yeah. I live with some other politically minded individuals. One, Michael Ruddock, he ran for city council last election cycle.
Okay.
Lost by a couple hundred votes, not too bad, and we'll be seeing a comeback from Michael the Kid pretty soon to be next city council member. And yeah, I keep a close knit circle of friends, and they're all very politically minded.
Yep.
Yeah. So East Side right now, I was formerly in the downtown center.
Yep.
And then the Stadium District.
Stadium District, which is an apartment complex right downtown. You lived in the Stadium District building?
Well, not the building itself. That area. Area is called the Stadium District.
Okay. Yep.
And then I've lived in Hadley. I've lived in Okemos, Southfield.
Yep.
All over.
But Lansing's your new
Lansing's most certainly my. I consider myself a Michigander now very much. Yeah.
Great. That's wonderful. So, French chef.
Yeah.
So we brought some scapes.
Yes.
Those would be occasionally used in French chef.
Sure. So any number of onion and onion-related.
Yes. Like
veggies.
French onion soup.
Like French onion soup.
Oh, yeah.
Garlic, leeks, onions, all sorts of onions. The one thing they don't tell you about French cuisine is it's butter.
butter.
It's all butter.
Oh, yeah.
They ask you, what's so delicious about it? Oh, it's just the love, the spices, the saffron, the smoke. No, it's butter.
Put 2 sticks of butter in
It's just
anything,
all butter.
it tastes great.
It's all butter.
Yeah.
You got beans, add butter.
Yeah.
You got hot dogs, add butter. You got
Right.
spaghetti, add butter. You got chocolate milk, add butter.
What about popcorn?
Butter.
Dude, I knew it! I knew it! I couldn't believe it. Wow, I was trying to figure that one out for a while. Okay, and so that French cooking is just, throw butter at it.
Yeah.
Salted or unsalted? Unsalted.
Unsalted. That salt is something you want to control because you can
Right.
always add more salt.
Yes.
Here's a good tip. You can always add more salt. You can't take any out.
Yeah,
So it's better to under-season than over.
right.
And if you do over-season, throw a potato in it. Because the potato actually absorbs a good amount of sodium.
Oh, really? Will
Yeah.
it? Oh, I didn't know that.
All the tips and tricks. Tips. No, I can't
Tips
speak
and
English.
tricks.
Yeah.
Yes.
English? What's that?
English. So I got a question now from your parents' homeland, Bangladesh.
Bangladesh.
What is the language? Is there a variety of languages spoken in
Oh,
Bangladesh?
yeah, certainly. So Bangladesh, if someone were to ask me what my heritage was, I would just say Indian. It's very simple for me.
Right.
Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, formerly known as India.
Right.
Essentially same cultures, same religion, same dialects, same languages.
Yep.
But Bangladesh is interesting in the way that the reason Bangladesh actually declared independence was specifically for language.
Really?
So it's interesting you asked this question because Pakistan's national language, I believe, is Urdu.
Urdu,
So
yeah.
that's what they speak. In Bangladesh and in East Bengal, part of India that's close to Bangladesh, the
Yep.
language spoken is Bangla.
Bangla.
And so Desh actually means country.
Ah.
So Bangladesh means country of Bengali speakers.
Oh, I see.
Right? And so
Yeah.
that was actually the reason for independence because the authoritarian Pakistani government was like, you need to speak the language of our country, which is Urdu.
Yeah.
And as I don't even need to say my ancestors, my own uncle fought in the independence war of Bangladesh. So literally my own family fought literally to keep their cultural heritage and identity. Mm-hmm. So the language of Bangladesh is Bangla.
Have you been back there, or I shouldn't say back there.
Oh no, fair enough.
But,
I
have you
understand.
been to your parents' homeland at all?
I have yet to,
Okay.
and I would really love to.
Yep.
Something a social media handle and something some of my closer friends call me as a tiger,
Yeah.
right? And so I
Your
go.
parents ever go back?
My parents have gone back,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So what I was getting with the tiger thing is people call me the American tiger.
The American
right?
tiger, yeah.
So it's a cruel amalgamation of my own past heritage, my current self. I'm very much red-blooded American. I love my country. I love guns. I love cars. I love alcohol. Cheers to whatever. Cheers to whatever beer company this is.
Yes, and
it's probably Bud
it
Light.
doesn't
I
start
don't
with
know.
an H. It doesn't at all start with an H. You're known as the American tiger.
Yes.
And so is the tiger. The tiger is normally an animal associated with India, right?
Yeah.
Or the Indian subcontinent.
Yes, fair enough.
I should say. Very. There's some in Siberian tigers and stuff like that. So
Sure.
that's why you're sometimes you refer to the American tiger.
Yeah, the American tiger.
Something
Sure.
like that. Yeah. Okay.
He's got it. He's got it down already.
Yeah. Okay. Just gotta make sure I got that. You're ready to roll, right?
Good.
I mean, don't get me in animal mode. It sometimes goes crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah. If I can find a clip to give to you of the Richard Spencer rally, Tiger Mode, I was very much in full.
You
Tiger
are,
mode.
yeah.
Yeah, there was. I initially had thought that I'd interact with my fellow cohorts, the police, and the Nazis in a more civilized manner.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing like seeing a column of essentially purely white men doing Heil Hitler signs and knowing that their ideological belief system is genocide and ethnic cleansing. And that there's nothing like seeing that really riles up the inner tiger in you.
Oh,
so we'll see if we can get some clips of me screaming and yelling at some Nazis.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be great. I actually went to a Nazi rally. I mean, and this
As a supporter? Or
I am not a supporter, but what we
well, you just
went
don't
to
hear people say too often they've been to a Nazi.
Oh yeah, well yeah, what happened is there's this fella named Malik Brown, and I think Ken, our current cameraman, was there, right? Weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was checking it out. It's like
what's this Nazi rally all about? And so Malik is he's a African American person, and Ken has got for those who you don't know, has a shaved head. So he kind of, at the time, he didn't have a beard.
It's gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah. 6% Jewish according to that ancestry site. So
yes.
I'm not a Nazi.
Yeah, you're not a Nazi because 6% is way too much for the Nazis, of course. And so we went there, and it was at the Capitol. This must have been 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And so they had people up at the Capitol speaking, but they didn't really have loudspeakers, so you couldn't really hear anything that they were saying. And so when we went up there, there was some police, and they had the not supporter side and the supporter side. And so the not supporter side was filled with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. They had all kinds of horses all around. And so they asked us, they asked Malik, and he says, "Oh, I'm a supporter." And they're like, "Okay." So the three of us filed in to the Nazi side, right? And, there's only about 20 or 30, maybe 40 Nazis. It really wasn't very many, and there's hundreds of people, and we were fenced off. And Malik just kind of walks up there, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And these Nazis are like, they might have been proto-Nazis, but they were kind of like, "Hey." And he was like, "Hail Hitler," and he was like, yeah, whatever I can't hear a word he's saying, but, and then we were like, he was all doing this, and then, the Nazis were all very nice and kind, and, they didn't really cause us any problems, and, we were just talking to them, like, "What do you think about this Nazi thing? Is this, like, one of the coolest rallies ever?" And they were like, "Well, yeah." And they're like, "How many have you been to?" "Oh, a bunch of them." "Okay." And, they were kind of just, went on. And then eventually, the anti-Nazi people started getting rustled up. They kind of filled up the anti-side, and we were on the pro side. And mind you, we're not pro-Nazi, but we just wanted to hang out with the Nazis. And so... So the anti-Nazi side started getting all rowdy, right? And the police had brought in the horses, and they had kind of like funneled them around. And they came up to us, and they're like, "Hey, you guys don't look like pro-Nazis." And we're like, Malik was like, "How dare you?" Malik was like, "I am completely a Nazi." And I go, I was like, I want to hang with the Nazis. And they're like, "No, you're get out of here now." Right? And then soon it just, ruckus and a melee went down. And, we got to hang out with them for like 45 minutes. And, ask them why they were Nazis. And, "You really hate me? Because I like you. You're cool." But, yeah, so it's interesting, like at the Capitol, how you'll have these strange groups.
Yeah, we just actually had a Second Amendment rally not just a week ago.
Yep.
And I find myself in an interesting place as a hyper-progressive who's also very pro-gun. Mm-hmm. So I went to the rally with the intention of perhaps it could be a bit more of a non-partisan issue,
Right.
We do have some groups like Redneck Revolt, which is a progressive group that is pro-gun, right? So there's elements of the left that actually support like the Second Amendment in and of itself. Mm-hmm. I could not have been farther from the truth.
Oh, really?
There was a Trump float. I don't know if your viewers have seen this or anybody's seen this before, but in Lansing there is a Trump float. It's a trailer.
Yep.
It's a trailer on a hitch that's pulled by like a dually F-150 or something, and I don't even think they make dually F-150s. I digress. It's about 15 to 20 feet long.
Yep.
Massive Trump. Just in lettering,
Donald J. Trump.
just a bunch of American flags and stuff. They have a bunch of speakers, just blasting like pro-American music, and
Yep.
it's a sight to behold. It's pretty gnarly. And so they had that parked right on Michigan in front of the Capitol, and they had all these tents and stuff, and there was swastikas, and there was signs of Hitler and stuff. And this is not but a week ago, right here in our state's capital, and. It sucked.
Yeah.
It really sucked because I've been involved with activism here for a good amount of time. And
Yep.
we had there was a support Donald Trump rally a couple months back after number 45's election, and we as a progressive movement decided, well, fuck that. we went to the Capitol before them and then stole the front steps. And so we demonstrated on the front steps, and they were forced to move to the side of the building, which was pretty funny, which is great. But this showing was freaking gnarly, and we're talking open carry. So a bunch of middle-aged white guys with beer bellies and haven't had sex in probably like 2 decades. Carrying like all these guns that I would love to own and shoot myself, but would never carry them around in public because I don't need to, you know. And so they're walking around with these guns, all smiling, like, look, I got a big dick too. Oh, you got a big dick. Oh, I got a big dick. Oh, look at this gun. Super terrible. Because Lansing's awesome. Not only is it proximity to East Lansing State.
Now, why was it terrible? Just because the people that were there at the rally, or?
The ideological homogeny of that group also turns to ethnic homogeny, right? So in Michigan, we are actually blessed to have one of the most vibrant immigrant populations in the country and in the world. In fact, Dearborn, Michigan has the highest concentration of Iraqis outside of Iraq. And so we have a huge Arab population here. We have a huge Afrocentric and African population here. We have 2 of the best universities in the entire country and the world. My father traveled across the freaking pond, you know, to come to state. We have University of Michigan. We have MSU. Those attract large amounts of foreign students who come to this great country and get an education and stay here, like my folks did. So that's why it's terrible, because it doesn't. It's exclusive.
Were the folks unwelcoming to people of alternate or people of color or various ethnic races?
So what's weird is,
were they welcoming them?
As a minority male myself, what we in our community call minorities that kind of cross the aisle, we call them Uncle Toms, because they completely forego whatever culture that they came into this with. They want to assume a purely Protestant, American, white, Christian, Republican culture. So if you were a gun-toting black man or Hispanic woman that was saying build a wall, they'll love you even more so. But to us, to their actual brethren, we're like, you're an Uncle Tom. You know, so they would be accepting, but not to a person that. They're on the fringe and extreme, right? So anybody that's not close to them, they'll see as an enemy or at least a non-associate, right? So when it comes to anybody progressive, even, that's an enemy, 100%.
I see. So they're stereotyping. Well, see, that's what I think is interesting about politics these days is, you know, we have this DNR thing. But I think the majority of the population adopts some of each.
Oh, certainly.
And then so they and I think the problem that you run into is people, you know, people like this team or that team a lot, right? And so that's where I think a lot of the problem is you know, independent thought should be the primary thing that matters in political thought, right?
Yes, truly.
Like you can formulate your own, you know, formulate your own set of beliefs and call that whatever you want, if you want to call it anything.
That division in American politics today is probably the greatest factor that I attribute to the decline of the American electorate and country and government. Because we're strong, I'm not a huge Barack Obama fan, but there is a line in speeches he used to give a lot that I really love, and he goes, we're not the blue states of America, we're not the red states of America, we're the United States of America. And that line always hit really hard because it makes you recognize that each state functions almost essentially as its own country. California has the 5th largest GDP in the world. You know, they could be their own country if they wanted to. And yet we've decided to come together as a community, as a country, to work with one another, have ideas, disagree, find the best idea, and then propagate that. But the division we're facing now, like, people on the hyper left criticize the Trump supporters, right? And which is easy to do so. At the same time, I recognize those supporters of Trump as human beings and Americans just like myself.
Of course.
They have fears, they have wants, they have goals, they have children, they have jobs. Like, they made the decisions that they thought were best for themselves. Now, we will all, as a country, collectively reap those rewards or negative side effects. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about a universal health care or an improved education system or preventing the prison to school to prison pipeline, the American military industrial complex. Like, when you want to fix these things, you're not just going to fix them for the left or for the liberal white people, the upper middle class liberal white people, just the blacks or the Hispanics or the Jews, or you want the entirety of our nation to benefit from those things.
Right.
So the division prevents us from seeing, and that's a game I believe the Democrats and Republicans play really, really well, because it's once a Republican, poor Republican guy comes up to a poor Democratic woman, and they recognize they have common issues.
Right.
They can collect, they can organize, and they can change their society. However, if they have a Trump, if one has a Trump and one has a Hillary or Bernie, if one is pro-gun and one anti-gun, one is Christian and one is atheist, like one is straight, one is non-binary. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Those divisions the media allows them to create these huge tears within our society. And I myself, even as a very progressive individual, recognize that my service as a public servant through the military or through government or even through my own political activism is for the entirety of my community.
Right. It should be the entirety of everybody. That's the key thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the key, is you should really try to represent everyone. And people have different perspectives on everything, and that's okay, because, the strength of America, I think, is the ability at some point to resolve those problems, right? And it gets combative through the process. Sometimes combativeness is necessary. Sometimes it's degrading the intellectual level of debate.
Yes.
Right. That's what I think is the most concerning of it, right? And so people who say what you believe is a bad idea, I think on either side of the equation or any side of the equation, one has to kind of step into the other person's shoes and say, where do those thoughts come from, right? What in their history, what in their pattern of learning has led them to believe that that's the best resolution for the world, right?
Truly.
So that's interesting. I think the future of politics is going to be probably, and you see this with Bernie Sanders, you probably see it with Trump, where we're not necessarily going to subscribe to the party line as much. It'll be interesting to see if this is just kind of a one-off situation, or it kind of breaks down the party structure a little bit,
Sure.
right? So I would like your perspective on that. And so you're a progressive, but you're also what people would sometimes call, more of a conservative type thing. You're a pro-gun progressive, and so how do you? So people who are on the progressive side and they hear about you being pro-gun, what do they think about that? What do they think it's odd, or they don't understand the philosophy?
I think for American progressives and liberals, it's extremely ideological, right? So my own personal heritage as relatively soon as my own parents going through a civil war, being a person of color in this country, coming from a Muslim background, I faced not any great amount of hardship. In fact, as an American citizen, I experienced a very large amount of privilege. However, in the United States itself, there's a lot of roadblocks for me. And I've seen, when my mother was pregnant with myself at St. Peter's Hospital in Albany, New York, she experienced racism by the hospital staff while she was giving birth to her one and only son. So this country has some really gnarly elements of true hatred and disenfranchisement. The liberal left, most of them, and I'll call it what it is, it's millennial young white liberals who've only ever faced privilege, truly. They don't understand real levels of hardship, true poverty, real violence, not knowing that you can't trust your government, your police, your military to any great degree. In fact, you very much fear them, right? In America, the lights are on all the time. You have running water all the time. You get injured, you can call 911. The ambulance come pick you up. There's a fire, you can call the fire department. All children go to school for free, at least, K through 12. This is a great place to be. So it's really easy to overlook all the awesome things we have, and it's also even easier to nitpick at the little minor things, you know?
Right.
So for the really liberal left, they just so much focus on the pure ideology of it, not the realistic application of government, of societies, of legislation, of what the role of a politician is to the electorate, of how different countries interact. What does it mean when we say we want to remove all guns, but the founding document of our country in its Second Amendment, of course it's number 2, the First Amendment is probably arguably the most important.
Right.
But the Second Amendment comes right after that, and I'm not going to harp on the Second Amendment, it's just we need to recognize there's a structure to which our society was based off of, right? And we can criticize the blood-soaked document that the Constitution is,
right.
but we also recognize that's our history and that's our past and that's the basis for our reality currently.
Sure.
So the reason, so just to maybe finish out this point is American liberals have had so little life experience with other cultures, other religions, other places, literally. I've never been to a place in the United States where white people weren't the majority. And the only places I could say I have would be in impoverished areas.
Yep.
So when you're the majority in a country,
yep.
you don't really know true hardship. I'm not going to say that white people don't face that, but you have to leave your environment, your bubble, so to speak, to find the reality of the world, you know? And American white liberals have yet to really experience that.
So you think folks are sometimes kind of in a
encapsulated.
Encapsulated.
Very much, yes. And that goes for the right as well.
Right.
You can't hate, when I was in the military, I was told by some people that I was the first Muslim or even the first black person. I'm not even black, but I've been told like, oh, you're my first black friend. And so, although it's not fair for me to represent an entirety of a culture, a religion, ethnic background, even the one I'm not a part of,
right.
When I have that dialogue, I can be like, yeah, like you've hated Muslims your whole life. What's up? Let's talk. I'm the first one you've ever met. Oh, you like beer? I like beer. You like girls? I like short girls. You like tall girls? All right. And then we find a real commonplace. And so it's the expansion of experience that truly grows the human intellect, the human consciousness, the soul. So that I think, I've been harping on liberals this whole time, but that goes for any kind of extreme ideology, political, religious, spiritual, intellectual, what have you.
Yeah, and so that's the concern, is the extremes are getting kind of stretched out.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it's hard, and my feeling is it's hard to debate, I kind of take a Buddhist view of it in a way, right? The middle path.
Yes.
Perhaps is the hardest.
Sure.
Right? That's the hardest, maybe the hardest path to travel, because it's also the most difficult. You have to be the most open to ideas. Anyways, there's my little snippet of proto-Buddhism. Well, interesting, great. I really appreciate you coming aboard and sharing your experiences with us. And I'd love to do this again and explore a few more of these little pathways.
Very cool.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, Omar. I really appreciate it. Yep.
Wakanda forever.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody. And until our next episode, I'm signing off. And Kareem's finishing the beer. Perfect.